Hey there, traders. Welcome back to another daily recap. We're looking at levels in the SPY that may provide potential support and resistance today if price gets to them. I'm Sam Morton. Today is August 19, 2024. It's about 8:22 a.m. Eastern currently. You'll notice a number of dashed lines on the board today. These are zones where price could react anywhere from within the zone if price gets to it. The opening bell is in more than an hour from now. Currently, as of now, they are a little above where they closed on Friday, kind of bouncing around 555. Whatever happens with price today, we have these levels already identified, and we'll use them as our baselines for entering trades in the E-mini futures today. After the market closes this afternoon, we'll come back to the same chart, talk about any trades that may have resulted from these levels of support and resistance. And I'll mention also for a little while longer, these levels will be available free of charge to anyone who wants them. Just go over to Ticks&Trades.com. You'll find a couple forms actually, to put your name and email address, and I'll add you to my list and send them out in the morning, and you can use them yourself. Catch you after the closing bell today. The closing bell was almost 3 hours ago at 6:45 p.m. Eastern, and the short squeeze continues. They went off the charts today. So let's look at the trades. Playing by the rules, the first one should be pretty obvious. They came down into 554.30. You could adjust this to 554.35 if you wanted to grab that trade a little earlier than level. They took off. There's your first base hit. I took this trade, and this next one here, I also took a short trade at 556.43. I think I just entered it at 556.40. Just a nice even number there, but there's your 5-cent buffer. And they would have given a base hit if you held on to it for a while. Let's hover over here. So 38. So 556.78. There's where you do not want to get above and close certain candles above. And then 555.98, I guess, is the 4-point equivalent ES base hit right there. And I actually had something to head out to around lunchtime, like a lunch event. So 11:30, I closed out with a slight, like a 1.5 or so loss because I couldn't babysit this trade. And I got back and saw that, well, if it just stayed in the trade, it would have panned out. But so I want to talk about something here. This zone up at 557.64. 20 cents below the low of this zone would be 557.44 right here. So look what they did. Let me just move this out of the way. 557.44. 20 cents. So I have this rule, I call it kind of the 20-20 rule. When price gets up within 20 cents of a level, in this case, this is the level, the bottom of this zone. I don't adjust the levels. And it stays within 20 cents for 20 minutes or more, which they did, then I'm not really going to trust that level. And sure enough, if you'd taken a short trade at the lower extreme of this zone, you would be looking for a base hit down here at 557.24 roughly. And they never got there. Got about halfway home. So you would have ignored this level. I did. I'll show you on the recording of the trade. I just consider this one satisfied by the time they were hanging out underneath this consolidation, because it's more of a bullish type of consolidation. I did take this trade though and got out of the money. And so I'll just talk through what happened. Jumped out right at a wash, pretty much at break even. But let's just talk about playing by the rules. What would you have done? So you're looking for a base hit. They didn't give it to you. They didn't come down to 557.67 or so. That's right above this. There's your 40 cents here, 4 points in the E-minis. They didn't do it, but they also didn't get above the fumble threshold, which is up here somewhere, right? Never even closed a single candle above all this time. But as it's getting close to the end of the trading day at 5:50 p.m., I've covered this one other time that I remember of, at least in a recap video. I would close out at the market no matter where they're at, because I don't trust what they're going to do in the last 10 minutes or so of the candle, even the last 30 minutes, because you're in this trade before that 30-minute cutoff. I don't like to take trades after 3:30 p.m. or within 30 minutes of the closing bell. Well, you're already in the trade. You would have entered this trade, well before 3:30 p.m. So what do you do with it while you're in it? Well, if you would have closed out right at the market at 5:50 p.m., then you would have been pretty safe. It would have been a wash, roughly, within a tick or so of where you entered the trade. I closed out a little bit earlier for wash, and I'll explain it when I talk through the video. But the point is, you would have had two base hits. One here, would not trust at this level. Good reason to not take this trade here. And you would have had a wash at this level. So effectively, two base hits. And here's what I did. So this is queued up right as they were coming down into this level. Bought at 554.30. Bought two contracts and adjusted this a little bit later. I thought I bought one. I realized, I was long two. So That's your base hit for 2 contracts. There's 40 cents. And it would have been nice if I'd taken half of this off and trailed it up, but you don't never do. I mean, I did not expect there to be a continuation of this short squeeze today, but the market's going to do what it's going to do. For all I knew, they're going to come down into this zone, but a base hit was easy out of this trade, and they went higher. Could have trailed more, but it didn't happen, so no big deal. And let's move ahead to the next level. So 556.40. There you go. I'll move back up. So I just pulled it down about 3 pennies. So I went short at 556.40. Right there's the order trigger. Looking for my base hit on 2 contracts. And hoping this would happen fast because I needed to leave the office around 10:30. And they didn't give it to me by 10:30. So I'll show you where I jumped out. So I'm kind of out of the money for a while. Move ahead here. Pay attention to the time at the bottom. So yeah, let me back up. There we go. So it's 11:20 or so and counting, and I jumped out, and they were like 1.5 out of the money. Just that was what the net trade was when I jumped out, negative $150 or something like that. So that was it. Pretty much stopped that recording, and a few minutes later, and it immediately jumps to the next one. Here we go. So later in the day, they're coming up into this. I'm going to pause this so I can talk through. I already talked about that 2020 rule of consolidation here. So this is why this level's already dashed or dotted here. I wasn't going to take the trade. So they're already at it. I did not enter the trade, as you can see. I'm keeping an eye on this thing, but I'm not going to trust that level. Let me move ahead to the next one. And what I did, I keep overshooting this, is I sold at the market a little bit above this. I saw them shoot up, and which is fine. And there we go. I went short at a better price up here somewhere. I'm looking for a base hit on just 1 contract. And usually, when they do this, there's actually some pretty good resistance up here for a lot of other reasons on top of this zone, above this zone. And so they hit that resistance, and they messed around with it for a while and pulled back a little bit. They even came down to this point here and would have had a base hit of $200 with my 1 contract. But you'll see this disappear in a minute, this $200, this limit order here. And the reason is, when they started falling back down, I thought, well, maybe this is the place. Finally, they've been climbing all day, but maybe finally at 2:50, almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're just going to give it up at the close. They're just going to kill it. And I could trail this thing down. So what I thought I could do, since I only had 1 contract, by the way, the red line is my fumble threshold. If they start closing above this on the E-mini chart, then I'm gonna reverse, or I'm gonna close it out at a bigger loss. But what I hope they would do is come down to around this mark here, which is 4 points. And if they got a little bit below that, say, I'm $225, $250 or so to the good, then I would put a 5 or 6 point trailer. So I had my finger on the trigger, so to speak, waiting for that to happen. That's why you see this disappear in a minute. When I started coming down, I thought, I'm just going to, maybe ride this thing down. There we go. So that disappears. I'm still in the trade, right? So what I'm expecting them to do is come down here. As soon as they hit, say, 250 or so, I was going to buy a trailer of 1 contract and trail this thing down. But that's not what they did. They did hit this 200 mark. I don't know if you saw it already. They flashed through it a couple times. There we go, right there. So I would have got out of this trade at a nice little base hit with 1 contract, just barely, had I stayed in it. But I did not stay in it. They went up. And so I'm telling myself, all right, either they go up to my break even and I'm just closing this trade out at $0, no harm, no foul, or it gets to 3:30 p.m. and I'm closing out wherever that's at. Whatever comes first, essentially what I was telling myself. But the better scenario is I'm trailing this thing down for a while. But as you know, that did not happen. They continued the short squeeze and pushed higher. So when they got up to 0, which happened pretty soon here, I closed it immediately. I just hit close. Click the button, and I'm out with nothing but a couple dollars in commissions. Was it this time? No, I think they pulled back again once or twice. Let's scrub ahead here. There we go, $0. Closed out, that level's satisfied. So that was a smart thing to do because it wasn't that much longer. We saw what happened at 350. They shot this thing up instead of killing them at the close like I thought they could. But like I said, who am I to say what they're going to do? I'm just playing these daily levels and could have got 2 good base hits if I'd played by the rules, but I'm not complaining with what I got. It was a decent day. Here are the tracking logs. The first one is the PBR, playing by the rules, and here are the trades, quantified. 2 base hits. You would not have touched this one because of the consolidation, and you would have given back a half a point when you close that out at 350. Playing by the rules. That is a rule I have. So there you go. Here's what you could have had and played in 1, 2, 3, 4 contracts, whatever you can afford. My trades were this. They got the first base hit, and I gave back a point and a half when I fumbled. Didn't trigger level 7. And this level 8, while it was in the trade, it was a break even when I closed it out. So I guess technically that's kind of a fumble, but it was really a wash. I lost nothing. It was right at $0. So it was $250 before commissions for my trades today. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. I know it was a little slightly unusual, especially the way they shot up at the end of the day. Busted through some pretty important resistance. We'll see where they're going tomorrow, and we'll have new levels in the morning, and we'll come back and do this again. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.